So we are going to go ahead and get started. We're going to open up our scripting playground. So what we're going to do is click on scripting playground, open it up. Now that we have it open, we're going to go ahead and create a new scene. So I already have our button input, and if you recall from last time, that's where we made something for WASD. Well, now we're going to have on-screen buttons. So we're going to go to File and New Scene. So File, New Scene. Then we're going to go to File, Save As. And inside of here, we're going to go into our scenes and we're going to call this on screen button. What this is going to do is it's going to create an on screen button for us to use. First things first, let's create our game manager. So game object, create empty, game manager. Easy enough. And now let's go ahead and create a simple text. So we can do that with game object, 3D object, excuse me, not 3D, UI text. Let's anchor it to the top left-hand corner. So click on this thing here, hold Shift, hold Alt, and select the left-hand corner. Let's increase the font size by just hovering your mouse over the word font size and turning it to the right. We can, of course, increase the size of our text box. That way we can have a higher text size. There we go. I'm going to go to about 50. If you're not in 2D mode, so if you can't see it, click the 2D button up here and you'll be in 2D mode. Now we're going to click on text and I'm just going to write this button works. Notice how it doesn't show up. Well, let's fix that. Let's go ahead and just increase this size until we can see everything. There we go. Just changing that so it's properly spelled. Now, we're going to go ahead and create our button. So we're going to go to Game Object, UI, Button. There we go. Now this is our button. I'm going to go ahead and anchor this to the middle left. So Alt, Shift, middle left. And instead of the word button, I'm going to click on text and I'm going to say test, oops, test button. Now this is just a button that I'm creating to test it out to see if this works the way we want. Let's go ahead and rename the button by right-clicking on it and selecting rename and typing in test button. Perfect. Now we're going to create our script, create C# script on screen buttons. Go ahead and let it load. Now, there's going to be a few things that we need to create. The first thing we're going to need is we're going to need to create a public text, and let's call it test text. Now, Unity might freak out on you, and that's fine. See how mine's freaking out on me? So what we're going to do is up here where it says using Unity Engine on line 3, I'm going to press the Enter key. Using Unity Engine.ui. And now it's going to work. No more errors. Next, I'll need a private bool. So private, and we've talked about booleans before. Bool test text is on. This is just a nice, easy name boolean to let us know, is the test text on? If it's true, then it's on. If it's false, it's not on. We will not need a public void, a start, or an update, excuse me, but we will need a public void. So I'm going to go ahead and delete all of that. And now I'm going to type in, oh, but before I say anything else, notice how I have my two brackets. Be careful with brackets as they can cause some issues. But I'm going to type in public void test, oops, not on trigger, enter, void test button. Okay, so that's called public void test button. That means whenever the test button is pressed, something's going to happen, which is exactly what we want. And I lied to you, we will need a void update. Now, what we're going to do, so we do need the void update, but what we are going to do is we're going to say if test text is on, then we're going to say test text is on equal to false. Sorry, I need to include that. So that's saying if it's true, aka it's on, we want to turn it off whenever the button's pressed. Now, if it's off, we want to turn it on. So we can say test text is on equal to true, which is exactly what we want to see. So now, inside of void update, I'm going to go ahead and say if test text is on equal to true, then we're going to say test text dot enabled equals true. That means we want to see it. Else test text dot enabled equals false. So now when we press a button and it turns it off, we want it to be turned off. So let's save this file, save assets, blah, 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 blah. Minimize that. Let's attach this to our game manager, and by this I meant the code we just wrote. That's now on my game manager. If you notice, the game manager is also asking for a thing called test text. Let's rename our text to test text. That way we know which one is which. And I'll just drag and drop that in. Finally, on the test button, we need to scroll all the way down. And on the button, it says on click, we want something to happen. What code should we access? Well, I'm going to press the plus button. I'm going to drag and drop the game manager right here. Now it's going to say there's no function it's accessing. Well, right now, we're going to say, yes, you are. You're going to access on-screen buttons, and then you're going to access test button. So now, when we run the game, before we run the game, but when we run the game, we should press the button and the text should pop up. When we press it again, it should turn off. So, actually, I don't even think we need to do it, but let's go ahead and do this. We're going to turn off our test text for right now, and we'll run the game. So it's off, just like we wanted to. Now we want to enable it by pressing the test button. Uh-oh. I think I do need to have it enabled, and the game will automatically disable it for me. There we go. So we do have to have test text enabled. And the text button works just the way we want. Okay, so you will have to have test text enabled. Let's go ahead and create another button because you're going to create two more on your own. Now I'm going to show you a secret way that has been done many times before by programmers all over the world. We're going to right click on our test button and we're going to select duplicate. There we go. Now let's go ahead and anchor this duplicated button, Alt Shift to the right. Let's give it a fancy name. Rename. Let's call it other test button. Ooh. Now we're going to go ahead and click the drop down menu, and in our text we're going to type in other test. Perfect. And let's create another text. guess what I'm going to call this one? Well, first I'm going to duplicate it, then Alt-Shift to the right. I'm going to go ahead and call this, right-click, rename, other text. I am going to call this one, this is other text, exclamation point. Easy enough. Now, before we do anything else, we are going to have to go back to our code. So double click it, reopen it. Let's create another public text other text, and then let's create another private boolean. So Control C, Control V, and we're just going to say, instead of test text, we're going to say other text is on. And guess what? This is how easy it is. I'm going to copy this entire function right here. Or I'm not going to copy it because I want you guys to be able to see how it works. We're going to type out public void other button. And so we have that working. So now I'm going to say if other button or other text is on equal to true, other text is on equal to false, else other text is on equal to true. Perfect. Now I'm going to go in here, and instead of test text, I'm now going to use other text. Same thing. Other text is on equal to true. Other text dot enabled equals true. Else other text dot enabled equals false. All right, perfect. Let's go to the game manager. Game manager is looking for a thing called other text. Let's drag our other text into other text. Let's go to our other text button. And this time it's already got the game manager, which is perfect. It has the test button function, which is not what we want. We want the other button. Now when I run the game, it works just fine. Your goal now is to go ahead and create, and let me open up a notepad so you guys can see it on the screen. For my class, your goal, create two more buttons and 2 more texts. Update the code appropriately. Let me know if you guys have any questions, but that is your goal for today. Good luck.